All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless, no story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, y'all already know it's about mental health. All right, as always, my platform is dedicated to mental health in all shapes, forms, and sizes as well, But joining me today, all the way from the East Coast, y'all know how, man. Look, y'all know I give my love to the East and West Coast, but all the way from Maryland, y'all know they got them good crab cakes out there too. Y'all know how I get down. Anyway, but joining me all the way from Maryland today, please put your hands together for Lucritia Stewart.
Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate you having me on here today.
Nah, man, look, I appreciate you for being on our platform. And first of all, let me just give people a little bit of background on you, okay? Look, now y'all sitting up here, y'all, see the lovely logo and everything in the back. Chilling. But don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Man, Miss Stewart is a licensed clinical social worker, all right? Mm-hmm. Certified.
Yes.
Certified. Yes. Social worker. Let me just, okay. Certified. Okay. But we're here to talk about, your brand, which is Bold Black Social Work.
Yes.
Before we get into that, let me just drop this little nugget, in case certain people forgot. All right. When we're talking about social work, okay? And a lot of us in the inner cities or what have you, we may think, hey, you know what? All of our social workers look like us.
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay. So let me drop this little nugget on you, ladies and gentlemen. African Americans, they only make up about 20% of licensed social workers.
Yes.
Licensed, okay. So let that license sink into your head. The key word is license. All right. So we're going to pass it over here to Ms. Stewart and talk about her brand and see why her brand is very important to getting that number up, all the way up.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. Absolutely.
Come on. Talk to me about Bold Black Social Work.
So I created Bold Black Social Worker in 2020. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And so in order to be a licensed clinical social worker, you have to have a certain amount of hours working with another clinician one-on-one for 2 to 3 years in order to even be able to sit for your clinical licensure exam. And so during my process, after I graduated from University of Maryland in 2015. My process was very difficult. It was very difficult for me. It was very expensive. It was just very daunting. It was a very daunting process. So I know that when I was able to become a licensed clinical social work supervisor in the state of Maryland, as well as in DC and Virginia, I wanted to make sure that the process was seamless, inexpensive, and enjoyable for other social workers. So that is the basis of my brand, but it has grown into something so much bigger. So I also offer career consultations for social workers so they can be able to tap into different career fields with an MSW. A lot of social workers don't know what they can do with their jobs. So that is where I come in as a career consultant, as well as a social work supervisor, to just pour into my community and pour into the Black social workers in my area. Because like you said, it's only 20% of the licensed social workers out here. So I really wanted to pour into my community and pour into the people that look like me, that are trying to be, the best social workers they can. So that's why I created Bold Black Social Worker.
Okay, look, first of all, I love that, all right? Because, look, you didn't drop some little nuggets in there. I don't know if I was really peeping certain things she was saying, the process, but lucky for y'all got me here, so we gonna bag it up just a little bit here. But you talked a little bit about the struggles, going through the process alone. And I mean, I know some of those struggles still continue till this day. But can you just talk a little bit about some of the struggles that you were going through, like even when you were, going through the process of getting certified and getting licensed?
So for me, it was a struggle finding a clinical social work supervisor. So I was at the University of Maryland, 2015, to be a medical social worker. That was my my goal. That was my track. I just was like, I want to work in the hospitals. That was my niche, right? Mm-hmm. And so realizing that in those high volume, high paced environments, like in the hospital, having someone sit down with you once a week to discuss, your cases, the things that you're doing as a social worker, it was non-existent. The work was just so fast paced, you don't even have time to do it. And so I had a hard time finding employment that offered clinical social work supervision. And so once I realized that my job is not gonna provide me with free clinical supervision, I had to look outside. And so I had to pay people, like people pay me. I had to pay people to provide me with clinical supervision, and it was astronomical. And this was, like I said, this was like 2015 to 2017. It was astronomically high. So I was like, I don't want people to have this issue with when going through their supervision. So it was hard for me. And it was like, I'm not a clinical social worker, so I wasn't making, the amount of money that I'm making now, but back then, I was just starting out. And so it was the bills and the money was piling up. So I said, when it's my time and it's my time to pour into my community, I'm not going to have, make people pay astronomical prices for supervision. I want to make it fun and interesting. And, that's why I was like, let me just start it. Let me just do what I can to see how I can, help the people that look like me.
But you did mention something earlier about resources. And as we said, 20% of licensed now. Okay, we're not just talking about people who have their masters. We're talking about licensed social workers, okay? What are some of the pitfalls you think, we as African Americans take when trying to get certified? Because as you said, there are so many things ahead of us that sometimes we, like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way, but that's not always the case.
Right. So as social workers, as Black social workers, our perspective on how we do things are very different from our perspective on how our other counterparts, our white counterparts, our Hispanic counterparts do things. And so the test, historically, it's an ongoing joke that when you take this exam, you have to think like a middle-aged white woman from Wisconsin, right? That is the joke. That is how they say that we're supposed to take the exam. And so our lens, we have to pass the exam from a lens of a perspective of someone else. The exam is subjective, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is not how someone would do it. Everything is situational, and everything, in my opinion, is considered very biased. It's a very biased exam. And so now that we finally got the data from ASWB as to how many people are passing, what races are passing at a higher rate than others. We are passing at a 50% rather than our other counterparts who are passing at 80%, right? So we need to figure out, well, everyone knows that the exam is not written by us, not, in my opinion, for us, but it's hard to say, how do we as social workers measure competency? Because our jobs are so, and the things that we do are very subjective to the type of clients we have, the environment that we're in, nothing is black and white. So who determines what's the right and correct answer? And that is where Black social workers, in my opinion, struggle with the exam. The exam is hard. That thing is hard.
Well, okay. So thank you for even painting that perspective, because, man, as you just said, I have to think in a realm that isn't, man, like, this isn't even real, you know, like this is like somebody else's like concept of what things should be or whatever. This isn't real life, you know. What I deal with isn't even like in its test or what have you. Why do you think more men are not in the social work field?
It's the stigma. You know, it's a female's job. It's a woman's job. I think that's why most men are not in it. And it's just not, it's not geared towards men. I think a lot of men get into it, and I applaud them, and I think that that's an awesome thing, but it's just not geared towards men. Like, it's not, I'm not gonna say not geared, it's not advertised for men to be social workers. And like I said, I applaud every male social worker I know. I'm like, kudos to you. Being one in a million. They're just not geared to them. I mean, I think just historically, just like with nurses, you know, nursing and nurses is more so of a female, I think, you know, CNAs is more so of a female nurturing type of job. And so a lot of men don't really gravitate towards that unless that is their niche. Unless that is something that they're, you know, into. I think that's really the only reason why more men are not in social work. It's just, you know, when you think of a social worker, you're not going to think of a black man. You're going to think of a woman, a white woman, black woman, Hispanic woman. You're going to think of a female. So I think that's all it is. But once they get and understand, I think when more black men or men in general understand that this work is just not just, you know, hand holding and, you know, taking people's kids out the house, and, you know, we do a lot more than that. I think that once they realize what you can do with an MSW, there'll definitely be more men involved. Absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk about cultural competency. Mm-hmm. How important is it to see yourself when you're even like talking to or dealing with or going to deal with a social worker or someone who, you know, offers you services?
It's very important, in my opinion. I think that knowing and seeing someone that looks like you is like, it can, in my opinion, just take a weight off of you. Like, when, especially as a therapist or even any type of role that you're in where you're doing clinical services, just seeing someone that actually looks like you, it takes a burden off of the client. You know, I mean, and sometimes, you know, your guard is still up, but when you're culturally competent, especially with somebody who has the same culture as you can be able to let your guard down. You can be able to be truthful in yourself. So, you know, in my opinion, I think that it's the greatest thing that I could ever, you know, experience, is having someone that looked like me be able to tell me and help me with my, you know, mental health. Because, you know, if you don't understand the struggles of a Black woman, how can you really, and you can understand, not saying that you cannot, that please don't say that you cannot, but it's a different feeling. It's right. A different feeling when you're able to speak with someone and you can talk in jargon, you can talk in slang, and they know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, it's a burden. You don't have to code switch. You don't have to make sure that they understand where you're coming from and understanding what you're talking about. You don't have to explain yourself. It's a difference, and it's a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, to have someone in the field that you're working with that looks like you. Like with me, like even having supervisors and people that I work with in higher positions that look like me, this makes me feel so much better. You know, it just makes me feel good. It's like, you know, I can strive and I can attain this type of stature as well as a Black person. So it's just, you know, it goes across all boards. It goes across all aspects. To having people that look like you, it makes me feel good. It just makes me feel like I'm being heard and understood. So,
okay. Hey, seen, value, heard, understood, and pay me. Okay.
We can get paid.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. We can definitely talk about that.
But no, like, and, you know, I love your answer, because, you know, sometimes I get pushed back. Well, you know, if the therapist is good, it's not about being culturally competent. You know, if the person's great, No, not necessarily. I mean, as you said,
I'm not saying that, you know, if you have a white therapist as a black woman, that she could not assist you with your mental health. I would never say that.
right.
But she also has to be at least some type of culturally competent to even be able to work with you. So, you know, but like I said, it feels like a weight has been lifted off of you when you go into a space and you see people that look like you, and you can be able to interact with them and they can understand where you're coming from. And, you know, it's just not, you know, you don't have to be as uptight trying to figure out, well, you know, did they take offense to this, or, you know, did they, you know, and not saying that it happens all the time, but that's just my experience. I just love working with other Black people. It's nothing against
Not bad.
nobody else. It just feels good.
Well, look, let's just keep it real. All right, man. Let's just talk about services that are normally denied to a group of people, Black folks, okay? Medical services, you know, financial services from a bank, man, schools, you know, what have you, supermarket, man, like the list goes on and on and on.
And as social workers, we're advocates. So we can be able to advocate for the people that we work with in those environments, because we know the struggles that they go through. We don't have to imagine it. We probably live the same things. So, you know, that's just how I feel about it. I get it though. I definitely understand. I understand. And I think that cultural competence is key in social work. That's one of our core values. So we have to have it.
There it is. There it is. Okay, y'all, come on now. So now, you know, we did talk about money. Okay, we did talk about the bag, but I don't think people really understand the many different avenues that you can take in social work. Can you, you know, like, man, you ain't got to tell us everything, but can you just give us like a different spin on some of the things, as you were talking about earlier, that even if you're not licensed, if you have your MSW, you know, what are some of the, you know, different avenues you can work in as a social worker?
So people don't realize, like, social work is the most, like, having a master's in social work is the most broadest degree you can get. You can literally, if I tell people, our possibilities are endless. So there are over 100 things that you can do as a social worker that don't have social work titles. People don't realize it. So a lot of people don't realize that there actually has to be a social worker or a mental health provider in every agency, every job, every corporation. They have to have social workers. People don't realize that. It's called employee assistance program. You have to go and talk with somebody if you have any personal issues. Like, people don't realize that social work, and people don't realize that companies and these big corporations are realizing how important the mental health of their employees are. Like, it's very important. You keep your employees when you keep their mental health intact. Right? So social work is in everything. So for me, I went to social work, like I said, to be a medical social worker. I wanted to work in the hospitals, and I did that. I worked in so many different hospitals across the DMV area. I worked at the National Institute of Health. I worked at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. I worked at Howard University Hospital. I worked in so many different hospitals, and I wanted to transition into something different. So now I am a public health advisor. As a master's level social worker, clinician, I am a public health advisor for the federal government. You can do anything. You can work in HR. You can do diversity and inclusion. You can do, you know, like I said, the possibilities are completely endless, and people just think that you're stuck in a box. And as far as compensation, in my opinion, it's locality based. Of course. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the DMV area, so the cost of living is skyrocketing high. So of course they're going to pay us a little bit more than the social workers that are in the lower, locality pay of, America. Mm-hmm. So, it all depends on where you are, but it is a very lucrative field. It just, you have to be able to market yourself, and being licensed as a license as a social worker puts you ahead of the game, in my opinion. So it shows others that, it's a way to measure competency, but it doesn't always show that you are competent, but it shows that you are able to pass this exam that all these other people are not, having struggles with. It just sets you it sets you ahead. It gives you a little boost within the workforce. So like I said, you can do anything as a social worker. You can work in the hospitals. You can work in the psychiatric hospitals, inpatient hospitals. You can work in a nursing home. You can work in HR. You can work as a veterinarian social worker. I bet you have never heard of a veterinarian social worker.
What is a veterinarian social worker? Huh?
I told you. You can.
What are we doing with animals?
Exactly. So, just to give you a little tidbit. So, a veterinarian social worker works in a veterinarian setting, right? Mm-hmm. So, when you lose a pet, have you ever lost a pet?
No, but I do understand the heartbreak. Yeah.
The grief that comes behind losing a pet.
Wow.
You see, like me, I lost my pet. I was inconsolable for weeks. I wish I had a social worker working with me. Just imagine that. So you have a social worker that's going to help you, guide you through that grief of your pet. You don't even realize it. It's like when Walmart is hiring social workers. Best Buy is hiring social workers. CVS is hiring social workers. We are in every single field you can imagine. You just got to know what to do and how to look for the jobs.
Wow. Okay. First of all right, you just blew my mind 2 ways right there. Absolutely. First and foremost, man, veterinarian, like, okay, yeah, all right. But I do get the concept. And I lived out in LA for a couple of years before I moved back here to Chicago. And I do understand the concept of people and animals now. Like they're very attached.
Their family.
Right. I mean, it's more than, just a 4-legged animal. You know what I'm saying? As you said.
Family.
Right. This is my sibling or what have you, my
child.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, to lose that. And I also think about people who have been through hurricanes and things of that nature. Like their pet may be the only thing that may have survived, and if their pet passes away, then they've lost everything, and that just goes through. Yeah. So man, now that you talk about it, okay, because I'm like, wait, what? But now, okay, the wheels are turning. That's smart.
Yeah. We're in everything. We're in everything. Like I said, these big corporations are recognizing that the mental health of their employees is vital. So just think about it, and just think about the pandemic and how we were just stuck in the box, stuck in the house. How a lot of people's mental health deteriorated during that time. So you need clinicians like myself and other social workers to help people break out of that cycle, that anxiety, that depression of being alone. We're here, and I think that the corporations are recognizing that now, that they're recognizing that mental health is in everything. So,
okay, all right, boy, dropping them nuggets, boy. Look here. I've come to the last question, but the question my show is known for. But I would love to hear your answer to this.
Okay.
Miss Lucritia Stewart.
Yes.
What is the one word that best describes you and why?
I like to say I'm ambitious.
Okay. Come on, talk to me now.
I like to say that I like to strive for better. I'm learning to not stay complacent in anything, but to always to strive to be more, to strive to do more, to have more. So I would say I am. Yeah, I think that word definitely describes me the best. Is I'm always striving for more, striving for better. Looking for better opportunities and giving those resources and those gems to others. So
I'm just going to use a word that you just used. Resource.
Yeah.
That's it. Man, well, what do you call bold Black social worker? It's a resource.
Yeah.
All right.
Use me.
Man, you know what I'm saying? But no, like, how do you get these resources? Man, you got to put the time in. You put the time in. You've worked. You know these things. Okay. You're you are providing an avenue for people to come take advantage of. Look, I know what it's like. Man, it ain't too much different now. But if you, man, follow my lead or what have you, man, look here, we can get through this and you can come out on the other side just like myself. As you said, talking about career consultation. Mm-hmm. Man, please. And I look here for all my students and for all my people out here who are in graduate school right now. And Lucritia, you know this to be true as well. Man, if you're in any type of field that you're trying to make money in, they don't tell you about the business aspect of it.
They don't. They don't. They do not tell you about the business aspects at all.
No, you come out and you
gotta find out by yourself. It's like, but I kind of and I've learned this from my partner, from my boyfriend, that I feel like schools breed workers, not entrepreneurs. So if you want to be an entrepreneur and if you want to be somebody who makes money for themselves, you're going to have to do it for yourself and learn for yourself and really step out there asking questions and, providing, or learning, how to do things for yourself. Schools breed workers, breed, the 9-to-5 instead of the entrepreneur lifestyle. So.
Oh no, hey, look here. The only way you're gonna know is if you get out here and do it yourself, as you just said. All right. That's it. That's all, y'all. Okay. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, man, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless, no story is worthless. Man, look here. You can follow me all social media platforms. Word with Ty Brownlow. Or you can go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful gospel. All right. Some call it conversation. I'm going to call it gospel. Because, man, you came through dropping. All right. Come on now. All right. But, man, y'all can get this wonderful conversation plus other wonderful conversations as well. Man, Bree, look here. Look, yo. I don't know what you got going on down the road. I don't know. We don't know. But I will say this. Whatever you have going on down the road, man, the doors to Word with Ty Brownlow are always open. Please come back and share with us, man. If there's something, that you just want to really discuss, something that you find topic heavy or whatever that's going on in the news, come back and share with us because
I definitely,
man, informative content. I pride myself on it. There it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And this is great. I'm glad that I was able to make it today.
Well, I am glad look here, I'm glad you was able to make it today. Well, no. Man, the pleasure's been all mine. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been it. This is Word with Ty Brownlow, y'all. We out. Peace.